You're watching What We've Learned in 50 Years. And I've got my dad next to me. And you've got some amazing stories of the power in using the name of Jesus. Do you have a couple of those amazing stories?
I would like to talk about 3 of those stories.
Right?
One of them, this takes place in the north of France, in the town of Roubaix. And I was going along to a prayer meeting held in an apartment building.
Right.
And cycling along, all of a sudden I was sort of jolted to a halt, and there were 3 young boys from the area stopped my bike and grabbed my personal belongings, which I had in a bag, and run off.
So did you just watch them disappear in the dark, or what happened?
For a split second I thought, what do I do next? Then I said, I'll get on my bike and follow them. So they were running,
Yeah.
and the 3 of them went in the same direction. I was going hard on my bicycle, and suddenly 2 went off to one end of the road, and the other one went to this side. So I said, I'll follow the guy who's got my personal belongings.
Yeah.
I chased after this guy.
Did you catch him?
I didn't catch him, but at one point I stopped and I said, in the name of Jesus, stop! And the guy stopped. And the next instant was, he turned around and threw my bag.
Did he keep some of it?
He kept nothing.
Uh-huh.
He threw the whole lot and it landed at my feet.
So that story is in the early 90s in Roubaix. And then a few years later, something else happened in that same part of France.
Yes, well, we decided, my wife and myself, to do some distribution in a small area, not far from where we lived. And so when we got there, we had tracts and leaflets. And so I went to the left, Margaret went to the right, so that we could do the whole village quickly. And of course, I went to this particular place and I didn't know what was happening. But Margaret came back later and she said, didn't you hear me screaming?
So what was she screaming about?
Well, she explained that she got to a certain gate which was open, and she went to go in it and put something in the letterbox, but there was this big dog sitting on the mat in front of the door. It came towards her and bit her.
Wow.
And so that's why she was screaming her head off, but I didn't hear that. So she explained all that to me.
Did you go back to that house?
Well, I made my way back as it was necessary to do so, to find out about the owner.
Yeah.
And so when I got back there was this dog still sitting on the mat, and he saw me. So he thought he'd have a go at me as well.
Yeah.
So came running at me. So I took authority in the name of Jesus, and I said, stop! Sit down! And it ran back up to the mat, turned round and sat down.
And never came and bit you?
Didn't come near me at all.
Wow. So that's 2 amazing stories. And I think there's a third one. Like in a sermon, you have 3 points.
Yes.
Let's go back into the 80s. In the mountains, something happened there.
Well, here is a story. Something almost finished in a very tragic accident.
Yeah.
Mark and Timothy and myself we left Margaret, the mum, down at the bottom of the mountain, and we started to climb up, and we got onto snowy patches. And at one point, Mark was ahead of me on the snow, and suddenly he started to slip. So I dug my heels in because I had to catch him if he could, and both of us could have gone sliding down the mountain.
How old was he?
Well, about 10
Yep.
years old. And suddenly I said, Jesus! Called out, Jesus! And Mark just disappeared, as if a hand had pushed him off to the side.
Yep.
And I didn't know what happened. And so eventually he came back to me, and we walked down the mountain and down to the bottom. But on that same patch, a few years before, a boy whose father was a doctor had that same slide down the mountain, and he went on the rocks at the bottom.
He killed
There was
himself?
no one to catch him, so he died.
Wow. Were you able to talk to Mark after the incident and say, you know, your life was spared because I called upon the name of Jesus?
We certainly did talk about it, and it was something for him to remember, that he was spared. God his hand on his life.
So 3 guys running after you, stealing your bag, a dog going for you, your son Mark sliding down this slope in the mountains. What's the key that we can take with us today from those 3 amazing stories?
The key is this, the name of Jesus. And when you use it audibly,
Yeah.
the enemy is defeated. So I would give advice to anybody in the circumstances which are difficult to use his name.
The name of Jesus.
The name of Jesus.
Dad, thank you for sharing those powerful stories. And see you again on What We've Learned in 50 Years.